Hey everybody, welcome back to Conspiracy Theories and Chill. Come on in, we'll start in just a minute. Please like and share and comment. Take part in the show. All interaction helps us do better in the algorithm and get out to more viewers. So comment as much as you want. And we'd love to hear from you. I'd love for you to take part in the show. I like for it to be an ongoing discussion in the comment thread. But tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. I wanted to have a conversation with someone who believes in conspiracies, government plots, etc., but is also very passionate about politics. Now, I also wanted this conversation to have two polar opposite views so that it would bring in as many people as possible into the discussion, and because I believe that is how we grow and learn. You don't learn anything closed off in an echo chamber. And this show is about being open to new ideas and being open-minded in general. So I hope you'll indulge me by joining me in this experiment into whether two people with very different views can find common ground. Now, my guest tonight is Clinton Gordon. Now, Clinton is a Trump supporter, but also a truther and follower of the Qanon phenomenon. And as many of you know, I am a diehard Bernie Sanders supporter. And we're both truthers, so we have the far left, the far right represented, and with two truthers in the mix, we cover some conspiracies along the way as well. And my friend Robert Stanley from the Right to Reason podcast was good enough to moderate our discussion, and I think it went really well, and I thank him for doing that. Both sides were really well represented. Let me know what you think in the comments and after the interview about the interview. But like and share, and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And without further ado, I give you a QAnon follower versus a Bernie bro in full and uncut.
Clinton Gordon describes himself as a right-leaning, independent truther. And of course, all of you know Sean Yankee from Conspiracy Theories and Chill. He is oh boy, Sean, I don't even know how to describe you, man. You're a wild one. He's a 9/11 truther. We know that, right? You don't think we went to the moon, but how would you describe yourself, Sean? What are you? Would you say you're
I'm a realist. I'm a conspiracy guy, but I'm also very political.
You're kind of an activist.
Yeah, and I'm a weird conspiracy guy because I lean left, extremely left. Me and Clinton happen to be polar opposites politically, but we agree on a lot of things with the truth movement.
Clinton, you don't like the word conspiracy, is that right?
That's correct.
What's your hang up with that, man?
Well, the word conspiracy would allude to like the fact that what you're talking about is not truth. So it completely discredits any information following the word conspiracy. It's really a truth theory, like the theory that we believe is the truth. And a lot of times we come to find out later on that theory was the truth. So it never was a conspiracy theory in the first place.
That certainly happened many times in our history. Gulf of Tonkin and Operation Paperclip. What were all those? There's so many of those CIA ones. There were a ton of them. And I'm wondering about, whenever I see a lot of shootings, I don't think the shootings are fake. What was the one, Sean, where they would give people drugs and try to get them to do crazy shit?
MK Ultra.
Yes. I always think, like, what if they MK Ultra'd somebody to go out and shoot other people, I don't have enough facts to say that's happening. I do feel pretty confident with the Epstein thing. And the liberal media came out immediately and started calling that a conspiracy. The right media, like Fox, they kind of kept their mouth shut about it. And they liked that it had Clintons involved, so they were like, let's let this go. But would you guys at least give me that where you would say this Epstein thing looks like some real bullshit?
Oh, it's the fact that he didn't kill himself, that he was murdered in his cell?
Yeah.
Or the whole...
His cellmate, like, beat him up before this, and he was already on suicide watch, and then all of a sudden... The guy that was like the leader of a pedophile ring ends up suiciding himself conveniently for everyone else.
Yeah, he's a billionaire, and he's the most protected prisoner in the country, and he gets beat up and then kills himself from he's 6 foot tall. He hung himself from a 4-foot bunk bed.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And not only did he hang himself, but the bones in his neck were broken.
Wow, how did he do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how do you break neck bones from hanging yourself?
Crazy.
Because they say he was found kneeling, because you would have to be. You're 6 feet tall. Even if he struggled, how are you going to break multiple bones in your neck?
But see, it's weird because the left says he was going to tell on Trump. And then the right says, oh, he was going to tell on the Clintons. And I feel like I'm over here going, yeah, they're all scum. But Clinton, you kind of like this Trump guy, don't you?
I tend to lean towards Trump. I'm one of those guys that kind of, I'm a registered independent. When Trump came on the scene and I seen the fact that the right and the left didn't like him, that automatically made me want to support him, because I figured with all the corruption that was going on, and I'm not saying that Trump is an angel or anything like that, but the fact that the right didn't like him and the left didn't like him, that made me like him, obviously, because I'm an independent.
But the right does like him. Most right-leaning people love him.
Right, but when Trump first came out, when he was, still in the primaries, the right was completely against him. Like everybody on the right was. And as a matter of fact, like a lot of them had to like come and apologize to him and whatever after.
He took over.
Clinton's talking about the establishment, guys.
I'm talking about the right,
not Fox News.
Establishment, yeah.
Like the Bushes and stuff like that. I mean, he took
Yeah.
over, man. He changed everything. I don't know if they're letting him just be the face of what's going on so that they can still fuck us over in the background,
Yep.
Or if like he's actually changing the Republican Party from within. It's a weird thing that's happening, but nobody seems to stand up to him from the right.
Well, I think because he's kind of rolled over anybody who stood against him and on the right so far. Yeah. I don't think, in my opinion, I feel like a lot of the issues that Trump stood on was pro-American, and a lot of people will say that's a racist comment. But when you say pro-American, you're including everybody and anybody who's an American citizen, no matter what color they are. So you could be talking about pro-American Black people, pro-American whatever color people you are. So when Trump came on the scene and he started talking about, okay, this is affecting Americans in a negative way. For example, immigration. And a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't affect American citizen in a bad way. But when you come and look at, the effect of illegal immigration, it leads to overpopulation. In a city like my own in Lake Worth, Florida, we see a tremendous amount of illegal immigrants, also legal immigrants. They're not all illegal. We, as a result, have a large amount of people, and the supply for jobs is lower than the amount of people to do them. So that will lower the wages, and that also raises the cost of living because you have more people than houses to house them. So in my city, I've seen, wages go down or stay the same for 20 years, and I've seen the cost of living double and triple.
I believe that illegal immigration is a problem, but I believe that the problem is that we allow these corporations and super rich people to hire these immigrants at criminal wages, and that's what encourages them to come here in the first place. If that didn't take place, and Trump is responsible for some of that, if that didn't take place, then these immigrants would have no reason to come here. They come here seeking a better life, and even at $4 or $5 an hour, washing dishes at a Mexican restaurant, they're able to send money home. And if that wasn't allowed, then that wouldn't happen.
Right. Well, the reason that they're allowing themselves to be paid so little is because they're illegal in the first place. So if you don't have an illegal immigrant to cross the border, you don't have the opportunity to employ an illegal immigrant. So in essence, in my opinion, we would be stopping the problem at the root instead of trying to,
So you believe that securing the border would be better than criminalizing what these businesses are doing? You raid a Tyson chicken or a Koch Brothers chicken factory, not Tyson, and you arrest 600 illegal immigrants, but you don't arrest the people that hired them.
I can agree with that. I absolutely think it should be illegal. As illegal as it is for a legal immigrant to cross the border, it should be illegal for someone to employ somebody who is illegal.
But then when you support
is I work in the construction industry myself, and I speak to some people who are illegal, and our government actually gives them an ID to file for, to pay some kind of tax for, which is to me crazy because.
So we're enabling it. You see what I'm saying?
Enable it. You're absolutely right.
We're enabling it.
Yeah, it's true.
You both agree about this, but Clinton, it seems like you focus on it seems like you're punching down instead of up, because whenever you started this, you didn't say it's these rich assholes and the bureaucratic system that obviously is enabling this whole thing for the purpose of taxing others or for the purpose of giving the money to the rich. You started with, it's these illegal aliens. You are allowing the establishment, as it were, to get you all focused about these Mexicans coming over the border and you're seeing this like this is some kind of infestation, right? But at the whole time, it's like, hey, you just agreed with Sean that that's not really the main problem. That's actually intended. It's on purpose.
Well, I didn't agree with Sean that was the main problem, because it was just when I originally started the comment, it was talking about why I kind of lean towards Trump. The jobs and the living situation is not the only thing affecting Americans by illegal immigration. Also, like people who are getting killed by drunk driving, people are getting assaulted. Every crime that happens to an American citizen by an illegal alien is a crime that shouldn't have happened. People that, if you're crossing the border illegally and we're allowing that, then, that's the cause of people not only, having to compete for jobs and homes, but it's also the cause of crimes, and not only assaults, but, organized crime, sex trafficking, drug dealing, especially with the MS-13 and those type of gangs in places like Texas, California, Nevada.
I can see what your perspective is, that, this person that shouldn't be in this country, in your opinion, is hurting an American citizen, and that's bad. Or the sex trafficking, that's definitely a big problem. It's just, I don't think that securing the border stops something like sex trafficking. I think that something like sex trafficking has such a strong hold on their avenues of transportation that a wall would never stop them. And drug trafficking, same thing. Most of it's coming through the air. I just think that these illegal immigrants, I don't think they're to blame. I think they are the cause of a greed-driven system that uses them. I just, like Robert was saying, I feel like you should punch up. I don't look at my neighbor as the problem. I look at what's really crippling society, and that's a handful of people.
You're talking about changing an entire system. So in essence, you're talking about a revolution in a complete change of the hierarchy in our country.
Does it bother you, though, that the man that you look to change the immigration problem in our country exploits it? He uses it at his Mar-a-Lago, what is that place, country club? He uses illegal immigration, illegal employees, and he also makes all of his products in China and Mexico. I am wearing a Bernie shirt right now, and it is union made in the United States. I know that it's possible.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't Trump do that? If he really believed in things like American jobs, why wouldn't he make his MAGA hats in America?
That I'm not at liberty to talk about, because I don't know the source of his hats. I don't actually own one myself.
I know, but what I'm saying is, that he does that, and he has those business practices. Why would you believe that he would do anything to stop illegal immigration when he profits from it?
Well, first of all, if he's building a wall, he is doing something to stop illegal immigration. Secondly, as a businessman, he was never a politician before this. So just like any good businessman, you're going to look for the lowest cost to make a product. And due to the way the system is set up in America, it was too expensive to make products in America and pay Americans when you can pay somebody across seas or across a border to make something and then ship it over for way cheaper. So as a smart businessman, that's what you would do. He was not always a politician. He just became a politician when he ran for president. So any and all business ventures before that, I can't look at it as, okay, well, why isn't he making it in America? Because who would make something in America when it costs more money to do so? And that might also be a reason why I believe that he knows what the problem is, because he is part of the business system, and he knows the business system in and out in America, and why businesses don't thrive in America, or why businesses are outsourcing jobs. He knows why, because he does it himself, and he had to do it himself also.
Hey, speaking of Trump, do either of you guys believe in that whole QAnon thing?
I do.
Sean, do you believe in QAnon?
I believe that it's happening. I believe it exists. What I believe it is a misinformation campaign. I think it's somebody that has a high security clearance, but I think that they are misleading the American people. I don't believe that Trump is a hero taking down the deep state.
For anybody that doesn't know what that is, Clinton, can you just describe that for us in like a real quick way, that if somebody wasn't following this branch of conspiracy stuff?
Basically, QAnon is a anonymous poster to what used to be an online website or channel, the 8chan. It's an anonymous source for people to post stuff without being identified. He or she has posted things that were going to happen before they happened. And a lot of people, what they do is he plants he says stuff for people to investigate themselves. And then as they investigate, they find the truth. And then, it leads to more truth being found out. And he's kind of like the behind the scenes inside guy for the Trump administration to the people.
It looks to me like one of those situations where, hindsight being 2020, you look back at it and go, oh, look, out of all these multiple things that were sent, this one that showed air traffic control stats. It's always something like that, right? It's always like, it seems kind of random like that. But then you go back and go, well, if we match these numbers up, there were 45 times that the plane crossed Delaware. And then, number 45 is the number of Trump. And it's just, that's kind of the impression I get, is like, it's a bunch of wackos, no offense to you in particular, but it's a bunch of like weirdos on the internet, like just putting stuff together and saying, oh, look, this lines up. But like, you didn't say that at first. You just look back at it afterwards and you're like, making these false conclusions.
Yeah.
I would add that they're written like horoscopes. You can interpret them, like there was one Q post where he said McCain would be in the news in 30 days. And then McCain died and everybody made a big fuss. But McCain was a U.S. senator that was in the news all the time. I mean, yeah, he died and that was big news, but he could have been in the news for anything and Q would have been right.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, like I said, I'm not like a, QAnon, pusher. I like it. I get a lot out of it, especially it ties to the sex trafficking and stuff like that. You can actually go on qmaps.pub and you can get a list of all the kind of information that's not being told to you by mainstream media. You can look at major executives that have stepped down from their places of power for no reason, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them since Trump has taken the office. You can also look up stuff that's such as the sex trafficking bust that's not being advertised on or promoted on mainstream media. I would just suggest to you guys or to anybody who's skeptical about it, like check out a couple QMaps, qmap.pub or some other, they even have Facebook. You can look it up on Facebook, and they have, sites where the QMAP people are working together, or some are supposed to be working directly from Q. And you can look for yourself and make your own conclusion.
And that's one of the things I do like about the Q thing is it makes people do research.
I told, while we were waiting on you, I told him that you were probably masturbating to 9/11 YouTube videos. You keep watching those towers go down.
Hey,
like you jerk it off.
You know what? That is something that every time I see it, it still has the shock value. And I think that it's supposed to. I think that was part of it. I think it was a psychological attack.
The 9/11 thing, that's the heartbreaker, is that there's so much stuff that doesn't line up, and the American public just sit there and swallow it.
You're obviously separate politically, but where do you guys fall on other topics? Gun control or healthcare, for instance?
Yeah, you go first.
Well, first of all, I would like to say that, if you believe that there should be no budging on the First Amendment, then you should definitely believe the same about the Second, because in my opinion, I believe that the First Amendment was written so that way, hey, we could speak up against the government, or we could speak up against injustice. If that right was ever to be infringed upon, then we had the Second to lean on. And the Second Amendment would make sure that our First Amendment stayed intact. And I believe that's why the Second Amendment can't be touched, just like the first one shouldn't be touched.
I agree with that for the most part. I mean, I see your point. And the reason I see it is because I feel so strongly about the First Amendment as a, content creator and a writer. And just as an American, it's very important to me. And so is the Second. And I don't feel as strongly about it because I don't even own a gun, but I respect it. I respect it as a right. It's just where we differ is like with Bernie's platform. Your problem is that he wants to ban assault weapons. I have no problem with an assault weapon ban, but you do.
Yes, absolutely.
So you wouldn't give an inch.
Do you think that we should ban anything on the freedom of speech? Like, okay, you can't say this if this hurts somebody's feelings.
No.
Right. So why would you start to
because opinion, I can't kill you with my words.
Once you allow the government to start taking away some rights, the government is going to take an inch. You're going to give an inch. The government's going to take a mile. So, it begins with assault rifles. Okay, listen to this. We allow the government to take our Second Amendment right to assault rifles away. Then, some guy goes and does a mass shooting with a handgun. So then what's going to stop the government from using the same excuse they used to take assault rifles? Because that's what's going to happen. You're going to ban assault rifles, and then somebody's going to use a handgun to commit a mass shooting. And then we're going to have to give up our First Amendment right altogether because somebody went out and shot up a school with a handgun. So now you have to give up your handguns too, because you guys told us that it's okay for us to use public safety as an excuse to infringe on your constitutional rights.
Does not getting to own a fancy military weapon infringe on your right to bear arms?
Absolutely, 100%. Because if you look at the government and the way they wrote the Second Amendment, it includes a state militia, which is made from civilians, to have equal arms to the government. And that's the only way you're going to keep the government honest.
Have you ever seen our military?
Does it matter?
No, it does kind of, because
I still have the right to fight a fight, even if I know I don't stand a chance. Like, should I just lay down and take a loss and say, here, take all our guns because we'll never be able to stand up to you? Because that's the brainwashed freaking mentality to me. That's not to me. I don't believe in that at all.
Yeah, I don't either. I believe we should be able to fight back, and if we did fight back, I wouldn't be on the side of, hey, we're outnumbered. We are, but that's not what I meant.
I did a little bit of an investigation, and the CDC says that firearm homicide is about 4.5 deaths per 100,000 people a year. So 4.5 people per 100,000 people are dying from gun-related homicide or suicide. I don't know if it includes suicide, but why are we focusing so much on guns when guns are not killing the most people in America? Why are we so quick to want to say, hey, the Second Amendment needs to be abolished or the Second Amendment needs to be adjusted?
I think because they're selling bulletproof backpacks at Walmart.
Well, what? So what? Buy one. Give your kid one.
I was just answering your question. It's the fear amount of it, the fear factor of it. People are walking into Walmart and killing 19 people. That's scary.
Yeah, I understand that, and I understand that. But like I said, let's look a little further. John Hopkins study said that 250,000 people die from medical errors every year. Other reports claim it could be as high as 440,000 people, according to the CNBC, February 22nd, 2018. So why are you guys so scared of guns and not scared of doctors? Because way more people die from doctors' malpractice every year than guns. Another report says that in 2016, 10,497 people died in alcohol-impaired driving crashes, accounting for 28% of all traffic-related deaths. Of those, 1,233 deaths were children from ages 0 to 14.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's not even up there. If it was on a pie chart as cause of deaths, it would barely show up. You're right.
Well, I'm just saying, alcohol is almost accounted for 1/3 of all traffic-related deaths. Mm-hmm. So why aren't we saying, hey, let's make alcohol illegal? Let's make and you can only drink beer. So we'll outlaw hard alcohol, but we'll allow citizens to drink beer, because way more people die every year from alcohol-related deaths, and they account for 1/3 of the driving crashes, fatalities every year, which is crazy. 1,233 of them are children from the ages 0 to 14, 17%. Right. You can't sell me this public safety thing on the gun control, because it's not about gun control, because gun control is not the leading cause of death in America. In 2018, an estimated 1,735,350 new cases of cancer will be confirmed, and 609,640 people will die from cancer. But you don't see them outlawing Monsanto when you can still buy Weed Up Round Killer in the store. This is what's crazy. I don't understand why are we focusing on guns when there's so much bigger issues to conquer than guns, because that's not a leading cause of death in America. That it's not about public safety. That's how I prove it. It's not about public safety. It's about control. It's about the Second Amendment. It's about taking people's right to bear arms and eliminating the threat of ever being, a group of people standing together and say, hey, no, we want to live free. We don't want to live and be told how to live. We don't want people telling us what to eat, what to inject into our bodies, and we're willing to die to protect those rights. They don't want people doing that.
I always feel like that argument is kind of like saying, why even brush your teeth? Your ass stinks way worse than your mouth. It's like there's all these horrible things in the world. So it's like, why are we even focusing on this? But we could use that argument for anything. Why even worry about healthcare whenever it's, there's a nuclear crisis? We never really ended the Cold War, man. We could blow each other up right now. Yeah. Why are we trying to help illegal immigrants whenever we need to take care of our vets here at home? Why do we need to take care of our vets whenever there's actual, crime in the streets right now? Or why am I worried about this national problem when there's problems in my own state and community? Like that argument can cancel out anything. I agree with you that if you give the government an inch, they take a mile. But I always had issues with that style of argument that you just made. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a style of argument, but it's also a fact, it's factually based. You know what I mean? Like I said, we First and Second Amendment, like this is what our society is built on. The amendments and the constitutional rights that we are given. This is what protects freedom. And what the government is now trying to do is it's trying to use public safety as an excuse to infringe on our Second Amendment right. And now it's trying to use political correctness to try to infringe on the First. And now you see, and John knows it, online censoring, because they don't like what you say. And once you give them a little inch to say, hey, this is hate speech, they can use that label to censor whatever they want, and they do. So why would we give them the ability to do that with the Second Amendment?
We would both agree with this fact or this statement, wouldn't we? That this isn't a free country. We're brainwashed to believe that it is, but it isn't.
Correct. I believe that. But I also believe that.
Okay, so we lost our freedoms a long time ago.
Huh?
We gave up our freedoms a long time ago because we have to take ownership of this. As a society, we did that. So we let corporations buy our government, and we're letting corporations censor people as we speak, and they're erasing the truth in real time. So the First Amendment is already under attack because they corporatize censorship. Now, they can't really do that with the Second, and I don't think the guns are in any danger at all. I think the NRA has such a hold over our government that your guns are one of the safest things that you probably own.
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't believe that we're free because, we're controlled to such an extent. There's all kinds of bills and regulations and FDAs and CDCs that regulate everything that we do. But, I do believe that there's still some freedom left. And I think that little bit of freedom we have left should not be infringed upon, especially in the name of public safety. When, if you're talking about public safety, and that's where I'm tying my argument to, the public is dying at a much, much higher rate when it comes to things such as okaying things that cause cancer. And because
I agree with that,
because the corporations are paying off the politicians, they're allowed to give us stuff that kills us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. But now the government wants to say, well, hey, people are dying by guns and we want to take those away because that's a problem. No, the problem is you're allowing substances to be put in our foods, in our waters, in our air that is bad for us and killing us and causing cancer. So if you really want to talk about public safety, then you have to talk about what's killing people the most, and it's not guns.
Sean, I'm kind of surprised actually that you wouldn't agree with Clinton on this one. You guys are both kind of these anti-government dudes, and he's saying, why would you give up? Like, if the government is this corrupt as you believe it is, you think they lied about going to the moon, for Christ's sake? Like, if the government is this sneaky and this evil, why would you give them your guns?
Because a couple reasons. I don't think we could fight them. I don't think that's realistic. I think it boils down to my realism is what makes me more open-minded about this. Like I just said to Clinton, we're not free. We're brainwashed to believe that we are, but they would kick in your door. I don't care if you have 5 AR-15s. 6 guys would kick in your door at 3 a.m. and you'd be fucked. So I'm just realistic about it. I think we need to be, it won't end the problem to get rid of assault weapons, but it does make killing a lot of people a lot harder to do, Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like the problem is much bigger than the guns, though. It's just you don't walk into a negotiation already backing down. I don't want your guns, to be totally honest with you. I would rather have mental health care in this country. I think that would solve a lot more of it than taking any guns.
Yeah.
It's just, I want you to come to the discussion. I want you to bring something to the table. I really don't want your guns. I want you to want to solve the problem.
So what is the problem? What is the
We've
root
let
of
evil? We've greed.
what the problem is when it comes to gun control? Because what are you trying to fix?
What am I
trying? Because if you're talking about people dying, then we got to talk about a whole different subject. Because guns are not.
We can't fix people dying. I think what we can fix is the sickness in this country, and I think a lot of that's going to be fixed by offering health care to our people, like every other civilized country on the planet. In our economic status, we're the only ones that don't. And, I know that this is another place that we disagree, but you said a couple of times in your stats, the big killers are things like cancer. People that get a cancer diagnosis basically might as well go ahead and go bankrupt, because if they want to fight it, it's gonna dry up all their resources, and it's gonna suck them dry. In other countries, it doesn't.
Right.
And you can't get mental health care here. We don't take care of our people. I think that's where a lot of this problem comes from.
And I agree with you, but I don't think I'm going to use one of your things that you guys said, and punching up or punching down. I feel like cancer treatment is punching down. Cancer prevention is punching up. Like we gotta find out, like, why do we need all this healthcare? Because we're killing ourselves. We're making our country sick because politicians and the FDC and the CDC are all paid by big corporations to allow stuff in our food, water, and air that makes us sick. And I think the problem is much bigger than being able to get healthcare. It's needing healthcare. Why are so many people sick? Why are so many people getting cancer? There's something that we're doing as society, and what's something that we're allowing into our bodies, be it through food, what we're drinking, what we're eating, what the water that we're taking showers in. Look at Flint. So my argument is like I believe that we should have healthcare, but I don't think the healthcare is the problem. I think that the problem is the CDC and the FDA are allowing things on the mass consumption that's killing us and causing us cancer. For example, the huge Monsanto lawsuit that's going on. This stuff was sprayed on all our foods: sugar, flour, wheat. You find glycophosphate in everything that we eat and everything that we drink, and this is causing cancer, non-lymphoma Hodgkin's, non-lymphoma cancer. This is the problem. This is why we need so much healthcare, is because we're sick, and it's because the FDA and the CDC fail to do their job, and they're taking big bribes from lobbyists and whoever they want to on the side.
Do you think it's also because healthcare is big business and they're not curing diseases, they're treating them because there's no money in a cure? Absolutely,
and I think that's why they censor anything that's not Western medicine or based in Western medicine. Any holistic or homeopathic remedy, these scientists and these doctors, their careers are destroyed for speaking up against Western medicine.
What about fluoride? Do you think fluoride's like killing us? How they put fluoride in the water for your teeth?
Fluoride makes you stupid. It dumbs you down and makes you docile.
Yeah, and that's why we have so many people that just don't care in America. Like,
and that's a fact, Robert. That's actually proven. Hitler experimented with fluoride during World War II. No. They did a lot of research on it, and they proved that it makes you it drops your IQ, and it also makes you docile.
Yeah.
Yep. Nobody proved that.
And that's why you have so many Americans are just.
And those same researchers continued that research here in America under Operation Paperclip.
Yep.
That's why it's in the water. It has nothing to do with your teeth. It doesn't even make your teeth stronger.
No.
Look that up. That's true.
If you read, what's really funny? If you take a tube of toothpaste and you read the label, it says poison, do not swallow. And we're putting that in our mouth every day.
Yep. You're supposed to use a pea-sized drop of toothpaste when you brush your teeth, and it says that's poison if you swallow it. But that's the same amount that's in an 8-ounce glass of water.
You guys are crazy.
Yeah. And you're supposed to drink 8 of those a day.
Yep. We're cooking all our food. We're boiling all our spaghettis, all our potatoes. We're making our drinks. If you have a powdered drink and you put the water in from the sink, you're drinking all that chemical. And if you got the chemical that kills all the bacteria, now you're drinking that chemical. What do you think that chemical does to the good bacteria in your stomach?
I would agree with that. Yeah, we're totally screwing up our gut flora for sure. But okay, I kind of sidewindered the conversation. It's very easy to get you guys off topic because all you got to do is mention fluoride or something. You guys go crazy with it. But either way, it seemed to me like Sean brought up a reasonable point about healthcare, especially in terms of mental health, that was able to tie together not just the conversation about the Second Amendment, but also about solutions to current problems that we have. I kind of got the vibe that as soon as he did, Clinton, you were like, yeah, but like, what about all the stuff that causes cancer? I would agree with you on a lot of that stuff, like Monsanto. I think most people would. Maybe not the fluoride, but either way, like, it seems like a reasonable thing to have single payer health care. Can you get behind that, or would you say that we need to keep things as they are, keep the status quo, let the corporations profit from our sickness?
I could get behind single payer healthcare if it wasn't going to be fitted by the middle class American citizen and the small businessmen of America, or businesswomen, small business in America. If they could tell you, hey, we're not going to make you guys pay for the bill of the majority of it and suffocate your business like they did before when they tried to make affordable healthcare affordable and made it extremely unaffordable. If they could guarantee me that wouldn't happen again, I would be behind it. But this is the funny thing about that. First, when I believe Bernie started running, he said that he was going to make Wall Street pay for something, or maybe Wall Street was going to help pay for the healthcare. And this year after Hillary cheated him out of his bid last time, he's saying, well, the people are going to pay for it, and we should all be happy to pay for it. and we don't even know exactly what's going to happen. You know, okay, yeah, we'll pay for it. Pay for what? How much is it going to cost? How much is it going to cost the average American? How is that going to affect small business in America? How is that going to affect business growth in America? How's that going to affect, you know, my taxes, their taxes, her taxes? You know, I think the problem is here is that we are going to get behind something that's going to step on the small guy again. You know, we're going to end up paying for it when really the people that should be paying for it are the one percenters, or at least the people that are making billions of dollars a year, like Walmart. You know, like these people should be paying for their employees' health care. And they what they do is they give all their employees part-time salaries and part-time hours so they don't have to. And that's the problem. You know, like you got people making billions and billions and billions and billions a year, sucking all the revenue out of a city and not putting anything back into it.
All right. So I can answer a couple of the questions that you just asked. As far as the increase in your taxes, it would be a 4% increase in your taxes, 4%. So it's not anywhere near the scare tactic that they're giving you, because when you factor in the fact that your insurance premiums and your insurance copays and all of that goes away, 4%. So if let's say you pay, I'm terrible at math, but I'm going to use made up numbers. Let's say you're paying $5,000 a year for your insurance through your work, and you're paying, I don't even know, $3,000 a year in taxes. Let's say your taxes go up to $4,000, which is more than 4%, but I can't do math in my head. So let's do a whole grand. Let's say they go up to 4,000, but that 5,000 goes away. So you have a net gain. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And as far as hurting small businesses no longer have to compete and offer something like healthcare. Do you know how expensive it is for a small business with like 8 to 12 employees to offer healthcare?
Yeah, and Obamacare put a lot of small business in the ground. Last time,
yeah, it made them do it. But we're not talking about Obamacare. Obamacare was written by the insurance industry.
Right.
Bernie's plan is not.
Party, right? The Democrats.
Bernie's not a Democrat.
Okay, all right, but he's running Democrat though, right?
There's only 2 political parties in this country. He has to run Democrat.
Okay, but he's not. I don't really.
He's an independent. He's been independent for 40 years.
Okay.
He's running as a Democrat because he wants to be president of the United States. And realistically, there's 2 political parties in this country.
Right. And you have to choose one or the other.
Right.
To have a chance at a presidential bid.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's why he's running as a Democrat. But because a lot of people do give him trouble for that.
Yeah.
You know, because he's always run independent. But what I was saying is it actually would help small businesses and make them more competitive even.
Yeah.
And it would also help big businesses, because big businesses could use that money that they're paying to give you healthcare, and they could either invest that more into their employees, or they could invest that more into their business. They don't have to do it anymore. You see what I mean? And you said that the 1% is the problem. The 1% is the problem. They don't pay their taxes. Yeah. Jeff Bezos paid 0 in taxes last year. Me and you both paid more in taxes than he did. And under Bernie's plan, they do start paying taxes, and that does finance a lot of this. And he never did promise that the people wouldn't pay. Yeah. People just didn't listen. This time he's being clear because he's the front runner, and they're actually focusing on it, and people are talking about it in debate. So he's being honest. He's always been honest. And I admire that about him, because a lot of them are lying to you. Like Kamala Harris is saying that you won't, and she's lying. Bernie's telling you the truth. And at least he's being upfront and letting you know, hey, yeah, you're going to pay 4% more in taxes under my plan.
And that 4% is going to be able to fit the bill for universal health care.
Mm-hmm. And yes. And also the Koch brothers did a study, a Republican-based study that was supposed to disprove Medicare for all. And it proved that it would save us as a country 10 trillion, or was it 10 trillion, Robert? Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. Over 10 years. It would be cheaper anyway. I'm, again, awful with math, but it's cheaper, it's morally right, and it's what's done all around the world. You've just been trained to be afraid of it, I think. I think that you've been scared of something that's not scary, and chosen to love something that actually is, and you admitted was the cause of the problem. The healthcare industry is the cause of our problem. They feed it. They don't want to cure anything. They want to treat it. They want to put kids on. Every kid now has ADHD. Every kid's on medication. Everybody's on pills. There was 6 vaccines, set in the 70s, and now there's like 32. It's gone wild, and that's a lot of the problem. And you admitted to that too. But a lot of that comes from the fact that it's all in a greed-based system. In other countries, they don't have aluminum and mercury in their vaccines, but we do, because our insurance companies and our healthcare industry own our government.
Right.
So if we had Medicare for all, they go away. That kills them. I see nothing but positives here. I don't understand why an anti-establishment guy like you would be against it.
Like I said, the only reason I would be against it is because I don't know exactly what's going to happen. Because, like I said, you give the government an inch and they want to take a mile.
So your fear is that the government
control. I still have a
control.
bad taste in my mouth from the Obamacare fiasco.
Oh yeah, Obamacare is awful.
Power over our healthcare, and it's a one-payer system, and then you have to use their doctors, and then they hold all the keys to all the doors. You can't go to this doctor, you can't go to that doctor. Okay, you can't, if you want a different kind of treatment, you can't take that treatment. You got to do their treatment. Also, because I have family that live in Finland, and I spoke to them when they came down to visit, and I asked them, how much a percentage of your income would a single guy that made like 60 to 70,000, maybe $80,000 a year, what percentage of his taxes would he pay? What percentage of his income would he pay? And they told me 40%. 40% of a single guy's pay is going to go to taxes. That's going to be a lot for a lot of single, not just guys, but just single people in America that are making $60,000 a year. You want to say, like, I'm just saying, I can look at other situations and see how much they pay for, like, even Canada. I got family in Canada. They can pay almost up to 40% of their annual income to taxes, single person, obviously. But I'm just saying, that seems like an unfair deal for single people. And that's kind of why I don't just jump right on it, because it sounds like a great thing. But, you know, from what I can see with other countries, what they do to single people is not fair. And that's kind of why I'm a little hesitant.
It seems like you guys find a little bit more agreement with healthcare than you did like with immigration or guns. But what I've really enjoyed about this conversation is that you both have this deep lack of trust for the government, for the powers that be, for corporations, as it were. And yet you are discussing how we should go forward with this form of collectivism that we have today, where you kind of have to give some of your money to the government to have things like, you know, water running to your house. Yet you guys are like, yeah, but the water's bad for you, or transportation systems, all these, the military, right? Or you probably both would say that you're kind of scared of the cops in the military. So the whole conversation's been fascinating, and I've really enjoyed listening to it. Did you have anything that you wanted to close on before we wrapped it up?
I never let politics divide us, my friend.
Hey, and that's one of the big takeaways that I want everybody to have from this conversation is me and Clinton, we disagree on a lot of things. We agree on a lot of things, though, and we're still friends. You know, we've had heated debates, especially about guns. And, you know, I've had times where he's told me he's lost respect for me, honestly. But we've always stayed friends through it all. And you can do that. And when you do that, you allow yourself to grow and learn. Because if you close yourself off in an echo chamber and kick everybody out that even slightly disagrees with you, first off, you've got no chance to learn anything. And then you've got no chance to change anybody's mind. See, I believe deep down that I can turn Clinton into a Bernie supporter if I could just get him to stop being afraid of taxes. Because Bernie actually represents the first person that I've seen in my life that's fighting the establishment. I know that Clinton believes that Trump is anti-establishment, but I don't. I believe that Trump has been a created boogeyman by the media. And that is why people believe that he's anti-establishment, because the media uses Trump as a boogeyman. Whether they use him to scare people into doing what they want them to do, or they use him as their cheerleader for their agenda, which is what Fox does. But they all build him up and they all use him in the same ways. I remember during the primary in 2015 when they wouldn't show Bernie, but they would film Trump's empty podium for 45 minutes. The media built up Trump. Trump is a boogeyman. I don't even think Trump wants to be president. And I definitely don't think Trump is anti-establishment or doing anything to help the common man. I think that Trump is a narcissist and that he just does what's good for Trump. I think that Trump was probably promised he wouldn't get the job, and he doesn't even want it. And the last person he wants to run against is Bernie Sanders. If you look at it, he's afraid of him. Bernie Sanders calls Trump out daily on Twitter and is the only person that Trump doesn't go back at, because he knows he has nothing when it comes to Bernie, because they both are populists. They both speak to the people, and one of them is telling the truth. And when it comes to a head, he's going to be exposed for what he is, and that's a con man. And I think he's fooled a lot of really good people into believing that he's fighting for them, and he's going to be exposed in 2020 when Bernie runs against him. So I think by then Clinton will be with me campaigning for Bernie and wearing a Bernie shirt, and we'll be on the same page. But if not, we'll still be friends, because we still care about moving this country forward, and we're still Americans that want to make a better world. And we disagree on some things, but we agree on the big picture.
Whatever political party you stand with or support, I believe that whenever you let politics divide us, then we are doing exactly what politics were designed to do. Right now, the United States of America is not even a state or a country. It's a corporation, and it's run in a corporate way. That it's a business, and the American people are not being represented in our country anymore by its government. I will always stand by the fact that I'm not a political party at all. I do support Trump. I do feel that Trump had the best sale point in his campaign for my interest and what I thought would help America as a people. And I do believe that he continues to do so. I see a lot of blocking and a lot of misinformation, disinformation. The whole Mueller report and all that was just a fiasco. And what I see happening is our government would rather shoot itself in the foot than let one person help the American people. They would rather destroy themselves and look like idiots on national TV and just block and block and block anything that one man's trying to do to help the people than to actually help the people, because they don't represent the people anymore. They have been officially bought by corporations and people that have billions and billions of dollars to give them. And that's how they survive. So I really appreciate the interview time. And thank you for everybody who listened, and much love and peace to everybody.
So we've been talking with Clinton Gordon and Sean Yankee. You can find Sean Yankee's content at Conspiracy Theories and Chill. Links will be included in today's show notes. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
That was the interview, and I thought it went great. I imagined it in my head exactly the way it turned out. I thought both sides did a really good job of making their points. Clinton did a really good job of making his points, and I came across, I was pleased with the way I came across. Robert did a fantastic job moderating it. Thank you very much to Clinton and Robert for doing that, and thank you if you sat through that, because that was 45 minutes long. But I was going to cut it up. I was going to make it shorter, and there wasn't anything I wanted to take out of it. My favorite author is Stephen King, and he has a saying that you have to kill your darlings. You have to cut things sometimes. But I thought that whole conversation had value and merit, and I wanted everyone to hear it, because it is important to be able to have disagreements with someone, yet be able to stay their friend, be able to still work towards common goals together, not have to close yourself off just because you disagree about some things. And the things that me and Clinton disagree with, they're deep disagreements, but we agree on a lot of things as well. So I think we can all learn from that we can make a lot more progress if we learn to work together. And I think you saw in that conversation that we actually have a lot more common ground than we're even admitting. As I listened to it and, heard it again, it hit me that, I joked about it in the interview that I'm going to turn Clinton into a Bernie supporter. We agree on so much. We are really so close together. It's kind of weird how, a full-blown Bernie supporter like me and QAnon believing or following Trump supporter like Clinton could find common ground at all. You'd think that we're so far apart that there's no way. But, I don't fall prey to the Trump derangement syndrome. I'm able to communicate with Trump supporters. I have a lot of friends that are Trump supporters. And honestly, Trump supporters and Bernie supporters aren't that far apart. Ideologically, we have a few major differences, but big picture, we're against a lot of the same things. And one of the most important things for us to realize is we have the same enemies. Those of us that watch this show realize that, have peeked behind the curtain and realize that, the powers that be the ones that are really pulling the strings are only like 10, 11 people. You know, you could fit them in this room and have plenty of room to walk around and socialize. You know, we don't have to let them dominate us anymore. We don't have to tolerate this greed-based system. But we're never going to be able to do anything about it unless we unite, you know? So conversations like the one that I had tonight were important, and hopefully we worked enough truth stuff in there and conspiracy stuff to keep the conspiracy part of the show and keep you interested in that. I mean, we can bring up any conspiracy you guys want. I promise next week we will focus more on something that is an actual conspiracy. We mentioned 9/11. We got a little bit into the Epstein stuff, which is good. That needs exposure. You know, as much as that can get out is good because they are trying to bury that. And the Epstein, there's a lot more there. You know, we need to really focus on making sure that stays in the spotlight. But I wanted to make an announcement that the conspiracy and theory. I wanted to make an announcement that Conspiracy Theories and Chill is back permanently now. We will be on every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central Time. So every Wednesday, brand new episode of Conspiracy Theories and Chill. If you have any ideas or suggestions for topics for us to cover or conspiracies, your favorite conspiracy, mention it in the comments and we'll get to it. You know, I'm gonna do this every week now again, and I'm gonna run out of ideas pretty quick. I have some banked away, but I could always use suggestions. So, and I've actually learned about some pretty cool conspiracies from the audience. So definitely let me know. And one of those I'm gonna do an upcoming episode on, one of those ideas that I got from an audience member, and that is on Plum Island. And the fact and the more that I've looked into it, the more confident I am saying the fact that our government created and released Lyme disease on the public. They were working on a weaponized form of what would be come to be known as Lyme disease, all the same traits, and this outbreak happened around this facility on Plum Island. And I'm going to tell you more about that in an upcoming episode of Conspiracy Theories and Chill. But that came from an audience suggestion, so definitely let me know anything you want to talk about. We talk about everything on this show. We can cover anything. So next week, like I said, I promise more conspiracy based. We may even do aliens, just a full blown go conspiracy. And I may even do some of you know I hate this one, but Bill Hicks is Alex Jones. We'll even do that one. We can do whatever you guys want. This is a participation show. It's been a while since we did one of these. I'm glad to be back. I hope you had a good time tonight. And if you shared, thank you very much. And if you participated in the show, thank you very much for that. We will see you next Wednesday for a brand new episode of Conspiracy Theories and Chill. Thanks for watching. See you next Wednesday.